Good evening, graduates. Big up on a nice, clean self. How is everybody doing? As you come on, please to like up the live. We're going to have a little discussion. Happy Holy Monday to those of you who are celebrating the season of Easter. I hope you're having a restful, relaxed, peaceful Easter season so far. Yes. Let me hail up the people that were in the class. Hold on a second, though. I'm just getting a few things done in the background. If you just bear with me a moment. Bear with me a moment. Okay. I just need to get this done. And then we are good to go. Everybody buy on the Easter bun yet? Wanna buy on the Easter bun? Wanna stack up all the Easter bun and buy up all of the fish they wanna need for fry and so. We don't want to be rushing around in the week to get things done. So I hope you are managing to do just that. You understand? Yes. I hope so. Hold on, the people. We're trying to get this done. Okay, here we go. YouTube's a funny little thing. All right. Sorted. Okay. Thumbnails present and accounted for. All right, let's share this. Okay. Post. All right. Come on, going right now. Let me see who is in the class. Let me hail up the people who are present first before we go into some details. Big up yourself, live and let live. I see you 1115. Sweet lips. Hello, Kathy Wallace. Big up yourself, child of God. And as she says, please indeed to like up the live as soon as you come on. Who else is here? Apple, big up yourself. Nira, how are you doing? I see your hello, Mrs. Linda Paris. I see you too. Arlene, big up yourself. Oh, is it rainy? Oh dear. Keep yourself nice and dry. Tia Tati, 73, big up yourself. All right, let me take out my background because I can't stand the distortion. It does my head in. Hold on. Hold up. Okay, we're going to get rid of the green screen for a moment. That's better. Rest my eyes. So, I wanted us to just talk as a community. This is not about, YAADBOSS, I want you to understand that this is not about tearing you down, ruining your ego, stepping on your can, rubbing and scrubbing you. It really isn't about that at all. I want you to understand where we are coming from. And I listened to the interview with Surprise. I hardly ever sit and listen to Surprise because Surprise, he talks over everybody and it irritates my soul. But he did well in that interview with YAADBOSS, because I'm not going to call it a debate. It was more a question and answer session than it was a debate because, you know, it was just more that, to be honest. And I listened to it in totality. YAADBOSS, I'm going to tell the public what your intentions are based on what I've observed. It is my opinion, it is my analysis. Does not necessarily mean it is fact. So let's put that on the record, but it is what I'm observing, it's what I am seeing. The biggest question that people have is, do you really want justice for Jayden Smith? Is that really your intention, or are you just out here trying to defend the family? I saw some defeat in you yesterday. I'm going to tell you this. As a YouTuber, you have to have a certain amount of courage but not necessarily um, be somebody who has no feelings. We're not expecting you to be stoic, but you've got to be resilient and robust. Even in your mistakes, you've got to own that confidently and learn from it, evolve from it, and move forward. The biggest problem that happened with your presentation on the Jayden Smith case was that you did not do a 360. I notice you keep repeating that. Please use your maths. When you do 360 degrees, it's a full circle angle. You come right back to your point of origin. What you did was a 180, in that you ended up on the opposite side of the argument within the flash of an eye. And this is the problem. Because even as you present alternate perspectives, you've got to prepare your audience and you've got to, in other words, hold their hands and guide them along to where you are going to land. But instead, what you did was you jumped from the boat, landed on the sand, and then told the people that the boat and the water that it traveled on did not exist. And that was the problem, because all along they have been on this course, this journey with you, and they have been feeling the bumps, the waves, the storms, and pushing through that. And then you suddenly jump onto dry land and say that none of that existed. In terms of managing human emotions and mindset, that makes no psychological sense, because you have got to protect the minds of your audience, the people who are listening to you. And you have got to prepare them for whatever change in direction, change in course that you are about to take before you just land them in it. That sudden twist, that sudden turn is going to paint you as either a sellout, and I warned you in my first one. Big up yourself. Thank you so much for joining the membership, Tia Tati. It's either going to land you with being called a sellout, or it's going to land you with people thinking that you have been bought out, you're a betrayer, you are deceitful. All of those things are going to come out. You understand? Now, I listened to Surprise. Surprise stood his ground. But what became very obvious to me throughout the whole of that conversation was your intentions. I questioned, I questioned people. Why did YAADBOSS want so badly to have particular bloggers on his panel? And I questioned, I said, how is it that he never once invited J Pro? And he never thought of inviting me. I thought to myself, that in itself strikes me as strange. And then the penny dropped. I realized exactly what was taking place. YAADBOSS, please correct me if I'm wrong. But what I picked up was that you used your platform to discredit the people who were out there pioneering for justice for Jayden against the family in particular. You targeted those people who were of extreme biases in order to discredit where they were coming from. You chose to deal with the people whose arguments you thought could be painted as not intelligent enough for reasonable thinking Jamaicans to pursue, in order to debunk where they were coming from and to paint them as a bunch of idiots. Tell me if I'm wrong. And I'm going to say to you why I said this. Because while I listened to you interviewing Surprise, because you never did allow him for debate. Every minute you cut off him, man, every minute you tell him, say, oh, listen to me talk while you know how Surprise is. Surprise is like this on every single platform, and it's not going to change because he's come on yours. You understand? Yes, sweet lips, big up yourself, right? And it's really and truly came across when you started to lead the questioning into particular arenas that you knew had holes in it? For example, you wanted to highlight the whole sacrifice thing, knowing that that is an argument that can't stand up in a court, none at all, right? You wanted to highlight Surprise and this whole belt argument, which is one of the arguments that caused Surprise to be looked on as a unreliable witness. You brought that into the argument. You went out of your way to question Surprise in a way that would show the public that he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is what I picked up for your entire argument. But Surprise was no fool. He saw what you were trying to do. At one point, he got really heated about it. But I'm picking up from Surprise that he is a good soul. Because even at the very end of what you tried to do to him, he was still willing to give you a chance and willing to work with you and willing to let you continue to speak on Jayden without him turning his back on you completely. Now, my attitude is very different. I want to tell you about your parts and come off of your panel. Because, yeah, I can recognize when people are trying to take me for idiot and me not gonna really suffer fools lightly. You understand? Now, as I listened, and this is my problem with how you handle this case, every single time you come out here, you drop pieces and pieces of information, bit by bit, that's new every day. Every day you do it. And it shows that there is a whole web of deception going on in terms of how you are dealing with the case. We pressed you and said, you need to come out here and declare your source of information. I pressed you, JPro pressed you. You understand? Because you owe the public some kind of knowledge attached to the things that you are declaring so they can say, okay, he is getting this from an official source. You then went out of your way to drop little nuggets in your conversation, right? You drop little nuggets. You start to talk about CIB sergeant, right? Senior sergeant CIB, right? This is what you came out with as another nugget. Then you drop Jamaica Eye Camera. Now, before you weren't dropping these things, but now you're starting to drop it. You're now talking about the fact that you may have access to certain camera footage. You're going to see if you can work your contacts to release that. So that is your little carrot. You know how you love to dangle your carrot to allow your audience to keep trickling back. And then instead of recognizing what we are saying to you, you are trying to insult bloggers. Yeah, with this, yes. We tell you say you're jelly belly, that we tell you say you not have no testicular fortitude, that we mean that. Because you're not standing up for this case the way you ought to. You are already leading your audience down the path of everybody in the family is innocent. And yet you are giving us no substantial reason to dismiss them from suspicion. Because you're keeping everything under your belt, because things can't talk right now, because this, because that. But you cannot expect us to ride with you when you are giving us very little to go on. You understand? You cannot come with just an itinerary and think that this is enough to get rid of all suspicion around Shanique, around Demar, around Anne, and Mr. T. It's just not enough information. You understand? So when I listened to you speak, I said to myself, here we go. Everything about this is about discrediting Surprise. You wanted so much to punch holes into his argument. You were not presenting an argument and then he was rebutting. That is the nature of a debate, by the way, YAADBOSS. You never did that. What you did was you interviewed Surprise. You drop in your occasional opinions. You got Surprise to respond. That's an interview. That's very different. That was not you coming to say, this is my argument. This is my moot. Because we're going to debating conversation now, because I was a debate club girl. This is the moot. These are my arguments. This is my evidence to back and support. This is what I'm using to justify my inference and my conclusion. And that is what I am presenting. No, you never did that. You came, you start a surprise, a bangla question. Surprise answer, yeah, punch holes in our surprise. I say. You're interviewing him as though you are one of those, investigative journalists that has somebody in the hot seat that you want to manhandle in 60 seconds. Right? That's how you were handling surprise. Surprise, pick up on what you were trying to do, but he might try to hold it. You understand? He realized that you were questioning his integrity. And that's exactly what you were doing. It has been going on too long now. Absolutely. That's exactly what you were doing. Now, the thing is, people, this is a tactic that people who claim that they have intelligence tend to use on people who they think are simple-minded. You hear what me I tell you now? Take it from me. I've witnessed it many, many times. I have never used it myself because I've always despised the approach. That's why I tell you I do not mend well with my own class of people in society, because I see this trait in them all the time, where them take people who are humble for fool, and they try to use language in order to dance circles around them. But Surprise was smarter than you. And Surprise recognized exactly what it was that you were trying to do. When you come with your arguments about for the people who are back of the class and I couldn't give a rat's ass, you do give a rat's ass. It does bother you that we have called you out. It does affect you. Stop with your pretense, right? Because at the end of the day, you are not above inquiry and you're not above inquiry. We can ask and we can probe, because at the end of the day, you are presenting a completely new perspective. You are not that significant that we cannot do this. So when you get up on your high horse and act as though nobody can question you, everybody out there get questioned. Everybody out there get drilled. People ask questions of all of us, and you are not an exemption to the rule. You insist on coming up with this whole thing about Principal Gabriel. You are claiming that Mr. T is referring to the principal at whichever primary school. I don't know the name of it. I can't remember it. You are claiming that it is the primary school principal that is Mr. T's boss. Yet we have no evidence of him also speaking on this principal. Although you're claiming we still have no evidence on him speaking on Mr. Gabriel being Anne's boss, because he has not declared which principal it is. So because he has not declared which principal it is, we must now swing to the other side and say, I must the principal where you select. Do you hear how silly that sounds? How that argument makes no sense? You constantly present these facades in order to divert people from thinking in an open way. And because you're leading people into biased arguments, that is why you're getting a tongue lashing, and that is why you're getting bashed. You're not looking at your audience and saying, it could have been both ways. It could either be that principle or that principle. That's not what you're doing. No, that's not what you're doing. Instead, what you're doing is you're insisting that it's the primary school teacher, the primary school principal. That's what you're insisting on. And how is that an accurate argument, a logical argument? None of it is. You can't expect us to walk down this road with you when you are basically trying to put blinders on the public of Jamaica and force them to think what you're thinking. Make that make sense, right? So you're claiming that you're working to see if you can see the CCTV footage from Little Caesar. Don't worry, I'm looking at your script, so I'm making sure that I'm not misquoting you, right? You're implying that the person that you are working with was this sergeant, this CIB sergeant. So you are saying that a CIB sergeant who is supposed to be handling Jayden Smith's case handed over to you Shanique's what you call the number there, people? Shanique's booking reference number. Handed over to you the booking reference number so that you could then go on social media in the public space, search up Shanique's information, put it on public display, and it would include Shanique's full legal name, her departure airport, her arrival times, etc. And you were allowed to do that sans Shanique's permission. YAADBOSS, this is what I cannot stand with you. You continue to take people for idiots. No sergeant can give you that information and allow you to go on social media and do all of that without Shanique giving the thumbs up. Are you crazy? Just think about it. If Shanique is involved in an active investigation where she is trying so desperately to prove her innocence, and she is aware of the fact that her information has been leaked via social media, what do you think that Shanique can do to the police? You're not hearing chiching. You don't think that Shanique can hold them to task and even sue them for that breach? Are you okay? So when you come out here and you tell the public, I am not going to disclose, big up yourself, OMGGG, I'm not going to disclose my sources. No good investigative journalist does this. You're not an investigative journalist. You're just a bloody blogger like everybody else. So stop your crap. Stop your crap. Okay? You're not qualified there, so yet. But that aside, if you're acting in the role of an investigative journalist, you may not be able to disclose the names of your sources, but you can disclose if they are family members, and you can also disclose if they are not. Okay. We have said to you that Shanique is the person that is your informant, that she's the person who has been influencing you. If Shanique is not your informant and not the person who has been influencing you, YAADBOSS, you could have come out and said, she is not. You never did. You start throwing up all kinds of other people, right? To try and once again give us red herrings for us to chase. YAADBOSS, I think you underestimated the type of audience that this case has garnered. The people who are watching this case are not all just ordinary thinkers. A lot of us out here are extremely critical. Some of us use the speaky spokey way like me, and some of us just get to you raw, like J Pro. But the whole of we have said the same thing. Your argument don't make no sense. You understand? Your argument don't make any sense. Now, he starts to talk about what type of evidence would be considered admissible in court, people. Okay? He's saying that the judge has the final say on the evidence that is presented. No, the judge does not have the final say on what is presented. The judge has the final say on the validity of the evidence. So the lawyers can bring everything, and the judge is going to say inadmissible, admissible. That's true, that part. But just to be specific, okay? You were trying to dismiss the fact that Surprise said that he spoke to directly with Mr. T. And Mr. T confirmed that Mr. Gabriel is Mr. T's boss. That is not relevant in a court. Everybody knows that key witnesses are significant in court. So then your next move, after hearing the fact that Surprise not only know Mr. Gabriel, but has met with Mr. Gabriel severally in order to do his gospel concerts and his little entertainment thing. That this man got a man church. That this man know the person in the flesh. When you hear that now, you start to get bummy. So now your next move is to discredit Surprise by letting him talk all kind of things about sacrifice. And this is how you were dripping with sarcasm. And that part went over Surprise's head, but it never go over mine. Ladies and gentlemen, reasonable thinking or well thinking members of Jamaica, people of Jamaica, we are now to believe that Shanique would have been all the way in Timbuktu and that she was a part of a plan to kidnap Jayden in order to sacrifice him, ladies and gentlemen. I not use the exact words, but that it does say. Because you were in essence making fun of Surprise's arguments. Because you're pointing out to the people who are the critical thinkers that the argument makes no sense. But Surprise was very clear in that it was a theory. And he never once said he actually believed that this took place. He spoke on this thing as a possibility. Every platform I have listened to Surprise speak on, he has never been pursuing the whole line of sacrifice. It's a discussion that came up as a possibility, given the fact that Principal Gabriel has got religious connections. And let us not pretend that cults or occult behavior is completely benign in Jamaica. It is very malignant and happens. Kevin Smith being one of the most recent ones brought to the surface. So when it is that you're making it look like Surprise is just chatting a whole bunch of superficial made-up stuff from out of space, as though there is no cultural significance to the things he's saying, you are extremely disrespectful. And you were trying to dismiss the man as he is some kind of, like somebody where you would have said, you smoke, yes, yeah, Pop Mali are sitting your head not there. But because Surprise is a humble guy, he just let you know, listen, this is what I think and blah, blah, blah. And he just ride the storm with you. You understand? But your entire intention of bringing those people onto your platform was to discredit the witnesses, to discredit the people who were pushing those rationales that we should look at the family. You wanted to discredit every single one of them. And I am glad when certain people pulled back because they realized what you were doing. Otherwise, you would have discredited Chat and Laugh too. Yes, you would have. You would have discredited her too. And her emotions would have been pushed aside as though she's a, over-emotional female. You would have come with another angle. Right? Surprise is the only one who did not see straight through your intentions and still managed to turn up on the air. But that was exactly what you wanted to do with this man. Right? So you're telling the man that, listen, which evidence is more significant? Mr. T claiming that his wife went up to her boss without stating it's Mr. Gabriel, or you saying that you are aware that the boss is of Mr. T is Mr. Gabriel based on a discussion. If we're going to look at it that way, none of them are really relevant. Because it's not Mr. T's boss necessarily we are arguing about. You are claiming that Mr. T's boss was the primary school teacher. Who cares? What does that have to do with the price of rice in China? The person who we are making the connection with Mr. Gabriel to is Anne. Anne is the one who presented the key. Anne is the one who said, take the key and go up at Spur Tree, go change your clothes. It is that trip to Spur Tree that is causing the whole kink in the motion when it comes to the timeline of Mr. T. So Mr. T is not talking about his boss, he might talk about his wife boss. So why you keep talking about Mr. T's boss? This is what I say with you. You present a lot of red herring arguments that throws people off course and confuse the flipping case. And that's why everybody I tell you for come on fight. Because you're not handling it with all the talk that you're talking. You're not handling it with the intelligence that you like to portray. When you pick up a case, you literally have to submerge yourself in it. And that's why I tell my audience that sometimes blogging can be draining. It takes from your soul. You literally have to eat, drink, sleep. Anything that you are going to present. The deepest bloggers do that. The best bloggers do that. Of course, there are those who just chat and then them just get traction because them a chat rubbish and people go watch the rubbish because them like to point out the rubbish. You understand? But the ones who really and truly want to do blogging with integrity, they do it deeply. Big up yourself, bro Shaka. Right? They do it deeply. So when you're going to pick up a case, you also have to think about how you're going to present that information to the public. If you're saying, I believe the family members are suspect, that every single one of them needs to be interrogated like criminals, because I said that from the beginning and I'm still saying it now, that every single one of them needed to have been interrogated as though they were criminals, meaning no soft touch, rough up, serious questioning, pressure, so that them talk. I'm going to present to my audience why I think so. This is why I believe this. It's different from telling the Jamaican public, let us send them all to prison, the whole of them for God jail. No. You have to give the reasoning and the rationale behind it. And you did that very successfully when you were talking about the fact that they were prime suspects. So why are you not so successful with this switch, this 180-degree switch, because it's not 360, this 180-degree switch to the other side? Why are you not so successful doing this? I'll tell you why. Because when it is that you were looking at the obvious prime suspects, there was a lot of evidence to support that you could discuss. When you are now looking at taking people off the trail of the prime suspects, your evidence is weak. And because your evidence is weak, you cannot even stand in the fire for 5 minutes. You understand? But at the end of the day, Linda, we're going to still talk about it. And I'm going to tell you why we're still going to talk about it. Because this kind of confusion is what will turn people away from even thinking about Jayden. And I don't know about you, because to me, this Jayden Smith case is not normal. And it's not something that should be allowed to disappear in Jamaican history. I have come off it and I've been talking about other things, right? But at the end of the day, when I see that something has come that will throw a spanner in the works of the work of even the other bloggers who are still keeping Jayden Smith's name alive, me I come out. So fair enough. You don't want to hear it? You can scroll on today and come back another day. You understand? But it is going to be discussed. Because what I see going on is purely manipulation. When people are invited to come on a platform claiming it is going to be a debate, but it really is not a debate, but an interrogative investigation with the intention to dismantle their integrity, right? To dismantle their integrity and to make it look as though these people were never credible and had nothing of substance to offer. When it comes to the Jayden Smith case, that's somebody leading the public astray. Everybody has a valid argument to explore. It is how they present that information. It is how they walk the path and show the people why they believe what they believe. That will determine who is credible and who is not. It must be allowed for all pathways to be explored. Big up yourself, Joan. It must be allowed. Because otherwise, it's going to be silenced. And Jayden Smith's name will be wiped out of history as though it never existed. So even when I turn away and I look the other way and I'm doing other things, don't think I'm not listening to those bloggers. I listen to all of them. Every time they're talking about it, I tune in whenever I'm not live or I'm not busy. Yeah? Or I go and I search to see if any screen recording drop. It's not a normal case. And clearly, it is something about Jayden's spirit that has everybody talking about him. Can't happen. Exactly. So, what we're not going to allow is for somebody to come and dismantle all of that discourse and disregard everybody's feelings, intuitions, emotions, and drive, and beat them into submission with disrespectful words like back of the class and them a sheep and me a goat. It's rubbish. These are the very same people who have been keeping Jayden's name alive. You understand? We may not agree. Like I don't agree with Mato and the way he's done things. But am I going to say Mato shut up your mouth and don't talk about Jayden and come out and beat him down feet? No. Because even his voice still keeps his name on the vibrations. Right? YAADBOSS is now going to say that he is going to walk away from it because he received his confirmation a few hours ago. What do you mean by that, sir? Them kind of cryptic thing where you keep dropping, I better you not drop them. It's better you don't drop them because what really is your intention there, so? I'm going to stop now because I was going for one last pitch and I tried my one last pitch and it don't really work and you know I received my confirmation a couple of hours ago. I will not be touching this case again. What? And them kind of you know, people sell them kind of packaging. You know, that is what you call puss in a bag. That is what you call selling a puss in a bag. Right? Because of that here, do you know? You sell the people them a puss in a bag. Big up yourself, Lady V. It's like, you sell people a puss in a bag. You say, oh, I've got this prized possession of knowledge. But I'm going to keep it under lock and key and I cannot share it. But I know what I know. And I am telling you, as the Lord of all knowledge and the keeper of the puss in the bag, that the whole of one are looking at the wrong direction. And that's all I'm going to say. Are you expecting Jamaica to rally behind that? We look like a set of idiots. Eh? I mean, time fool, but time drunk, but time no fool. At the end of the day, you can't present information like that and get the support. And then you come and bawl about how you don't care if I only 5, if I only 10, or if I only 2, or whatever. If you didn't care, you wouldn't lock some of that information for members only to make money off of it. You damn well care. You damn well care. If you're choosing to pull back, it's because we are onto something. And we have picked up that you are not handling the case properly. And we have picked up that you are indeed working with the family members. And that's why you're going. Because otherwise, why would you stop? You done make your kinds of fight already. And if you stand by what you stand by, you know for a fact that you have got legitimate information. Is it that you can't share that illegitimate information anymore? You're ninjas. Because first it turned from ninjas on the ground to now a sergeant. A CIB sergeant. What have they closed the doors on sharing information with you? In other words, they realize say we are not fool. Almost that. You understand? So he goes on and he's pressing Surprise about what would have carried more weight and so on. And in between that, he's telling Surprise to stop interrupting, stop talking over him. I tell you already, say so Surprise stay. So Surprise talk over everybody. So he stay. When you have one pint, you now go drop it till he drop it. You understand? So yes, he's going on about Mr. T and this whole conversation about going up to see the boss and which boss it is and stuff. But he's sold you guys a whole fallacy. He's talking about Mr. T's boss. Mr. T's boss is irrelevant to the situation. What we wanted was Anne's boss. So now, hear the joke. Surprise, look what him I ask him. So do you know who Anne's boss is? Do you have an understanding of who is Anne's boss? Which principal Anne boss? Hear what the man say? I can't confirm that. Man say I cannot confirm. Oh. What the man say? I cannot confirm that. Me say rotted. That what is. So the boss that is the most important boss to find out about. The most significant boss to find out about. You don't know who that boss is. Wait. And you don't know who that boss is, but yet you have told us to dismiss the principal on the basis that Mr. T's timeline is not credible. Yet you cannot find out who the boss is of Anne. And the house owner where Shanique got change her clothes. That would have set things in motion to understand what time she was in spiritual and all of those crucial bits of information, because you keep insisting that Jayden Smith was murdered on the Friday. And you know that argument makes no sense. It makes no sense. Because the same Principal Gabriel had eyewitness accounts of Jayden missing beyond the Friday. By the Wednesday of the following week, when he was being interviewed by the Jamaica Observer, he was talking about the fact that people saw Jayden running with box, look like food in his hand. That a member of staff chased after him. So hello. How could his murder have taken place on that Friday? If there was a murder, because you keep selling this conversation that Shanique could never have. It never happened because Jayden, there's no way she could have murdered him on a Friday. What about this Saturday? What about this Sunday? What about the Monday? What about the Tuesday? Remember, say Wednesday she left. What about them day there? And none of those you can account for. The issue that you're having, sir, not surprise, you yard boss, is that you are unable to account for that. And you're going to look more and more like an idiot. So it's time to back out because now the heating in the kitchen are turn up. You expected to come out and say these things and nobody would have questioned you at all. But what you did not realize is that the things that you were saying would affect other bloggers who are listening, who had put time and effort into the case, including me. So when you say things that completely discredit what we have been observing, documenting, it will cause self-reflection. I am going to listen keenly. Because what if you're right? I'm going to listen very keenly. I'm going to go, oh, interesting. Wow. Okay. And I'm going to take that away. And I'm going to do my own digging. Because if I need to retract as an integrous blogger, I'm going to take what you're saying seriously. So I can come out and do that. And go, oh, guys, big up to YAADBOSS because I'm open my eye to this. But the more I listened to you, the more I realized that you were selling a puss in a bag. And nothing that you were saying was an actual hardcore argument to debunk any of the work of your predecessors and fellow bloggers. You understand? And you can't be like a toddler in a cot. When you don't get your way, you throw all your toys out. That's not how we do things in YouTube world. Maybe on TikTok, because I'm not a TikToker. I don't do tiki-taki, right? But we don't do those things over here. We stand, we're grown. We won't with firmaments. Right? So if you're coming out with an argument, you hold your ground. You have to know why you say what you say. This is different from being one of them vloggers, that just throw up a video and dash. When you're doing lives, that's your face, your voice, your identity that you're putting to the information. And even if you did a video, but your face in it, are still you. I represent what you say. Right? So how are we supposed to listen to anything you're saying when you're claiming we're looking in the wrong direction, when you're giving us nothing but air to hold on to? Nothing but air. So anyway, all of this conversation about the principal, which principal it was what was a big part of your conversation, right? Then you started to dismiss the whole thing about his surprise speaking to Mr. T as though that didn't mean anything. You then went on to link this whole thing with L.A. Lewis. You wanted to talk about the sacrificing because your idea was to make them sound as though they were a set of people that were far from rational thinking, because anybody who believes in ghosts, they can't be intelligent people. All them sitting there, right? And poor surprise, now realize what you do with him while you have him in that seat. At first, him just pick up on the fact that you try tell him say I'm a liar. And he make say not no gossip because at the end of the day, him have him evidence and he know what he know. But when you went on, you're claiming, I'm not calling Surprise a liar. I would never do that. I don't know what Surprise heard. Surprise say they have a recording of Mr. T. He says that the principal Gabriel is his boss. Surprise never said that. And Surprise interrupted you immediately to try to correct your narrative. And you shut him down. Wait, Surprise, allow me to land. Allow me to say what I need to say. Surprise said, brother, low that. And then he got disconnected. Because Surprise told you that this was not on camera. There was no recording of Mr. T telling him that he worked for Mr. Gabriel. That this was in a conversation. Then you're going on about, we're going to have to see this recording. Because you're so hell-bent on discrediting the man that you're now twisting the man's words to claim that Mr. T and him were talking and recording, and that Surprise have the recording a hide. And not no go so. Not no go so. So it's like you were looking for an opportunity for the crowd to do this and start to look at Surprise funny, Like you try use Surprise to take off the heat off of you, bro. And that me see, And me I look on Surprise and I say, look on Surprise. Surprise is only protected by the true and living God. Because Amos angel around him finna see. So the man a try him best to sacrifice him to the public. And take the heat off of himself. You start talk about when Surprise was in Mandeville. Didn't you start to, and this is how I know that what I'm saying is highly likely. Let me tell you why I know. Whenever somebody is about to interview people, you will prepare your questions. You will also have your evidence backed up so that when you are, making reference to things, you have a historic record that you can reference when you're questioning. Hear what the man do. The man start to pull out on the reasons why Surprise got his internet beaten. Surprise, he first went for this belt, the belt argument. Now, I remember when there was a whole debate about the belt. I was on that live. And Surprise was insisting, I never found a belt. Some other man or somebody else find the belt. The belt was taken out of the country by somebody. He might try reach the person to say, well, the belt need to be submitted and why you take out the belt. But him got talk on the belt and never have the physical belt. You understand? So Surprise was there defending himself, saying that I never physically saw, touched anything with any belt. It was told to me a belt was found. Anyway, bangarang happened over that. So he's pulling up this belt thing. Surprise is explaining himself with the belt. Big up yourself, Melanie, right? Big up yourself, Vanessa, right? And after doing that, no. So him pull out one thing that him get beat by. Him start to draw on. But hold on. You never get beaten because you did in a Mandeville. When were you in Mandeville? What were you doing in Mandeville? What time, what date were you not in the vicinity? Because Surprise start talk about the pan, Surprise gone off on a tangent, him start talk about the pan. The pan, and they beat me for the pan and said, Jayden, no pan, and if me have talk about pan, that means I know that Jayden in a pan. Yes, and you get a little beating for that. That wasn't a big beating. That was a little beating for that. You understand? But him said, no, another pan me I talk about. In them business but no pan. And go straight to Surprise being in Mandeville around the time when Jayden was missing. Were you not in the vicinity? And this was shortly before Surprise come off of the live. And after Surprise come off, He goes on to say that Jayden's killer is amongst us. Let me tell you something. You see, reverse psychology, you see, psychological arguments, they cannot manipulate a brain as deep as mine. And you see, the art of language, it's never lost over here on this platform with the graduates. And that's why people like us, them now go draw we in a them foolishness because we go see straight through them. Why would you make that argument and then come out and say the killer is amongst us? Me said, Jesus have mercy. You, yard boss, your full intention was to discredit Surprise. It was no friendly debate. It was no nicey conversation. And poor yard boss is so unaware of what your intentions were that he thinks that you're just sticking to what you believe in and he's sticking to what he believes in. And never you use intelligence against a humble man. Never do it. God will remove it from you. He will take your wisdom and he will give it to somebody else. Because what you're doing is straight up manipulative. You understand? This is why a lot of people need mediation sometimes when they're dealing with institutions and dealing with people of higher intellect, because these are the kind of games that people who think they've got book smarts play on people, and they dance circles around them. You understand? So-called boss is so not credible. Thank you so much. Listen, at this stage, the only thing that YAADBOSS said that I agreed with is the fact that the actual solving of the case is not going to come from bloggers. I know that J-Pro heard that and he never too liked that, but it's the truth. Bloggers, we can only present our findings, any research that we have done. We can draw conclusions, we can speculate. But really and truly, the solving of the case needs to come actively from those on the ground. So unless a blogger transcends into that physical space and they are there and present and working with investigators and the police, etc., it is next to impossible in this current scenario that any of us are going to come out with any we've solved the case situation. And it isn't right to keep riding the waves, because after this, I'm not come out back on this, unless there's something significant, But it isn't good for us to keep riding the waves unnecessarily, because there is nothing significant that has evolved out of the case. All we should be doing is allowing those platforms that are either smaller or, more focused on just Jayden to just carry on doing what they might do. Those of us who are used to building other content, we need to carry on building other content, but keep an eye and an ear out. You understand? He needs help. He needs educating. Well, I don't know what I need. I know my job, right? But what I don't want is for him to come out and deceive people. I take much offense to it because of the fact that it's Jayden Smith's case. Because I proper invested in that case because of my passion for children. They call me Purple Heart Queen for a reason. When it comes to kids, I go hard, right? So when him come out and try to make it look like, say, it's impossible that Jayden Smith was ever maltreated in that household. Yet there are so many other witness accounts of people talking about Jayden Smith with a soul and eye. I played the voice note. It's in one of the videos, right? With the child talking about the child turning up at school with eyes swell up. And then now, when people are talking about, the fact that the neighbors over here say Jayden can't eat out a pot until them come home and all them kind of something there. Now, I'm not saying that these things are necessarily stuff you'd present in court. No. These are things of public opinion. These are things that are hearsay. But what it means is that there needs to be a probe into the environment that Jayden was in. And the probe needed to have been done efficiently. Now look at a situation where a small child like this goes missing. And the Child Protection Services of Jamaica have remained mute. Oh, no, see nothing wrong with that? Exactly, Monica. We have to keep his name alive. You don't see nothing wrong with that. But yet, child protection is quick to talk about the woman name over TikTok, Rosalie. They have fly out in a paper about Rosalie, but them cannot fly out in a paper about Jayden. That's why I said to you, and I said to all bloggers right here on this platform, that the next step in this case is to hold those authorities to account. I said it a million times. I said when they went to Andre Stevens's platform, that is what should have been on the agenda. But instead, they went with all of their little conspiracy theories, their speculations, with which Andre can do nothing with it. And even what YAADBOSS is presenting now is pure speculation regarding whether or not them innocent and this one source of piece of paper itinerary. You understand? So as I said, it really is about going on to the next step. Go on to the next step. Did the police do a good job? Were those interviews done in a timely manner, or did it allow for these people to go off and build alibis? Remember, the Demar said it was 2 weeks before they spoke to him. 2 weeks. Bro Shaka, I'm telling you. I am telling you. You understand? So when are not coming and telling me about, oh, you know, there is reason for us to believe that Shanique is innocent. When YAADBOSS are telling us things like that, and I'm just like, what reasons? Because that's the natural next question. What reasons? Reason itinerary. Itinerary where shows that she in the vicinity at the same time when Jayden walk up and down in a mega mart and so. It don't make no sense. The next step is to hold the authorities to account, to find out if the investigation was handled correctly. And if the investigations are being handled correctly. To check the integrity of the case. Them are talk about getting private investigator for do what? The private investigator should be checking if the case was investigated correctly. Did they miss anything? Because if they did, what are now the next steps? Do you need an external investigation team to come in and take over what Mandeville do? How do you move this higher up so that the case is re-examined? Because they are claiming they have hit a brick wall. Is the reason why they hit a brick wall because they did not do things properly? So all of this is to say, I will never stop people from going out there and shouting justice for Jayden and talking about the family members and saying whether or not they're guilty. Fine. But what I'm not going to do is to come out here and exonerate a soul. Because while I can't condemn, I also cannot exonerate. I can't do either. You have to allow people to feel how they feel. And if it is that the family is innocent and the police have genuine reason to believe so, it is their duty to protect these civilians from street justice, jungle justice, all of them things the way they mention. They need to come out here and say, listen, the investigation is still going ahead. And we are still, even though we hit a brick wall, we're still going over our notes. We're still doing what we need to do. But I want the people of Jamaica to know that while we can't disclose all the details of the case, what we can say for sure is that we have gone through all the evidence and the family members are above board. They have proven their timings. We have evidence, footage of them being here, there, not anywhere near Jayden when Jayden was seen on that eye where you claim say footage depend. And we are now looking for a non-family member or somebody completely outside of this circle. I feel them duty to do that. Not yours, YAADBOSS, not mine, and not anybody else's. The sad thing is that there are and will be many Jaydens and the results will be the same. Exactly. So when I hear people talking about also, oh, let's stop discussing Jayden. It's been a long time and I'm just looking at you like your kid could be the next Jayden. My kid, my grandkid could be the next Jayden when I get one. If Jamaica is a place where your child can just ups and disappear like that, huh? Jayden Smith's case is significant for many reasons. We do not want to see a repetition of this. We have to fight for an environment where children can be safe. In this a place you know we're in England, you can get deep any moment. Be it your citizen or not. And you have to go back down there, go live. You want to know that when you come down there with your kids, you can't send them to school, them can go into town, go buy something like Little Caesars and then come home and nobody not take them away. And that should it happen, the system would click into place within the blinking of an eye. We can't be so selfish. We have to imagine if it was us. Because it could easily be us. You understand? Different conversation when it falls at our doorstep. You're beautiful. Thank you, Mark. Right? We have to be preparing ourselves emotionally and mentally that there will be a day when we have got to go through this, because the world is a very deadly place at the moment. The world is a very deadly place. And you want to know that systems are there to protect our kids. So when we see something like this happening to Jayden, don't you think we ought to worry? Have we not got family back home? We don't have kids back home? But because it's not you right now, let's stop talking about Jayden. Sorry to offend you, but I don't encourage anyone to stop talking about Jayden, be it I like their blogging style or not. We have to stand for something or we fall for everything. Anyway, big up your nice clean self. I hope you continue to enjoy your Easter. I cannot promise that I'll be on tomorrow. I'll probably drop a video instead. But yeah, I'll probably be live the day after that. Have yourselves a wonderful evening. This is your girl, Head Teacher K, and I'm out. Bye.